Hello, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to use Photoshop CS and Adobe Bridge to batch, resize and batch watermark a folder of images so that you can, if you've got a folder of wedding images, you can upload them to an online gallery for your clients to preview. So let's get started. The first thing we need to do is create a new watermark transparent file. So you can see here, I'm just going to do it on a it's important that you make it on a square document, and the other important thing is to make sure you're doing it on you're working with a transparent background. Okay, then I'm going to use the watermark brush that we made. You can watch in another one of our videos, and I know that this needs to be 500 to fit in there. Now this could be a multicolored logo, it doesn't have to be all white, it could be just text, it can be whatever you want, as long as it fits within the boundaries of the square document. And then we want to save that as a PNG file. We don't want to save it as a JPEG because it will flatten the image and make the background white. So I'm going to call that batch watermark. It's also important you save this PNG file somewhere where you'll remember. It's quite useful to save it to your desktop. So we're just going to save that and close that. We no longer need that. Ooh, okay. And then close it. We don't need that anymore. Now we're going to record a new action. Oh, sorry. First of all, I'm going to open a practice image. Now, what I would say, and this is from experience, copy your folder of high-res wedding images, your high-res original images, just copy them into another folder on an external drive somewhere so that you know you've got a backup copy of all your high-res images. Okay, so I'm just going to open this image. And what we're going to do with that image open is record a new action. So we come over to our action panel, and I want to record a new action within the set that I've created called tutorial. So I'm going to call it batch resize watermark. Now I could, if I wanted to, I could assign a function key, F4, F8 there, but I'm going to leave that for now. So record. And then you can see down here, much like a video camera, we've got the round record button. So this means any keystrokes we make, any clicks with our mouse, or anything that we do to our cursor will be recorded. So the first thing we need to do now that we're recording an action, is place a watermark. So File, Place Embedded, and this is why it's important to remember where you saved your PNG file. Now because we made it a square document, it's going to place your watermark right in the centre of the image. So it won't matter if you've got a landscape orientation or if you've got a portrait orientation, it's always going to apply it to the centre of your image. So yes, we want to do that. Now I would suggest that we want to reduce the opacity of that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, and now we can stop recording. And now I'm just going to close that image, and I don't want to save any changes. So the next thing we're going to do is resize and then apply the watermarks using Adobe Bridge. So we want to browse in Bridge, and you can see there I've got all the images that could quite easily be in your wedding folder, so that could be 800 images there. So we want to apply this action that we've just recorded to the first image, click on it, and then with the shift key take it down to the last image, and it will tell you you've got 16 items selected, and you can see the yellow border around them. So that means whatever we tell it to do now, it's going to do to all the images that we've just selected. So we want to do Tools, Photoshop, and it's not batch, it's image processor. So we're going to tell it to do two things in one go to the images that we've selected. We want to resize to fit. Now that was selected because I've done a practice. Now, we want to make the images as small as possible. And so I've just picked an arbitrary pixel number 1600, and we want it to apply it to either the width or the height. So what you're telling it there is, if you're working with a landscape orientation image, I want the maximum width to be 1600. It will then adjust the height accordingly to keep it as a landscape. It's not going to make your images square. And the same as if it's working on a portrait orientation image, it's going to make the height a maximum of 1600 and then adjust the width accordingly. So that's resizing it. And then we also want to run an action, and we want to choose the tutorial action, the batch resize watermark that we created. So if I now hit run, it's going to open the first image. It's now applying the resize, and it's just applied the watermark. You won't see it doing it. So you can see it's doing it all for you. You could be off making a cup of tea. You could be setting about getting some new bookings. You could be, I don't know, looking at www.thephotographersboutique.co.uk to see what backdrop you'd like to order next. But you can see how useful this would be if you've got 800 images that you need to apply this to. Okay, and you can see there we had an assortment of landscape and portrait images. So if we now come over to, actually if I do it in Bridge that'll be easier, browse in Bridge. You can see that Photoshop has created a new folder called JPEG, and what I would do straight away is just call that watermarked. So it hasn't actually touched your original folders, but I just would feel happier if you'd made a backup copy of all your original high-res wedding images that you've spent ages editing. And you can see there, if I make them larger, that's applied your watermark and resized your images to either 1600 pixels wide or 1600 pixels high, with the watermark slap bang across the centre. And that's it. I hope you find that useful, and thanks for watching.